We have two more interesting speakers on the program. I will start right now so we can stay on target. First, it is my pleasure to introduce Linda Chamberlain, a Florida board-certified elder law attorney practicing in the Clearwater area since 1991, achieving Martindale Hubbell's highest rating as an AV preeminent attorney. Her elder law practice includes Medicaid planning, Medicaid applications, long-term care and disability issues, estate planning also. She is the founder of Aging Wisely LLC, a professional care management company, and Easy Living, a non-medical private duty home care company. She serves as an adjunct professor at Stetson University College of Law and on the board of the Clearwater Free Clinic. Her love and compassion for older adults began at a very young age when she helped take care of her grandmother, who fell and broke her hip at age 76. Unfortunately, due to the lack of available rehabilitation and financial assistance, her grandmother never walked again and was maintained at home by her husband and family for 5 years prior to passing away. Helping people through the journey of the aging process has been her lifelong passion. Please welcome Linda Chamberlain.
Thank you so much, Maria, for that introduction. And wow, what a great program Maria has put together. I thoroughly enjoyed last year's, and for those of you that have never put any type of meeting like this together, let's give Maria a hand of applause, because it is a lot of work. Thank you. The detail to make this happen is really something. So I just have to say to Tracy, I loved your kick the bucket party, because I'm at this stage of life where I have grandchildren now. And so what happens is they find out they get pregnant, or they find out they're pregnant and they have to have a reveal party. Then a little bit later, there's a baby shower. And now there's a push present. So that's like you get another present when you have the baby. And I'm like, there's got to be something that we can have for me that includes presents. So Tracy, I think we now know what I'm going to add to the list of parties. It's like there's got to be something for people that aren't having a baby or aren't getting married or moving or something like that. So I'm sure everybody here wants to know the answer to this question. Which is the best nursing home in Pinellas County? And we will get there by the end of this talk, but we got to build up to it a little bit and tell you what thought process goes into that. So the first thing, I don't want to take for granted that everybody knows what a nursing home is. So lots of times when I meet with clients, they really have a picture of what I would call more assisted living. They think it's going to be more like an apartment and not so much like a hospital. And so it is more like a hospital, but it's not the same level of care as a hospital. You don't need that intense care. You don't need a doctor there all the time. You need a doctor available for the nurses to call, but you do not need a doctor right there all the time. But you're also not well enough, for whatever reason, to go to assisted living. You're often confined to a bed, sometimes not. You can sometimes get out of the bed, get into chairs, and get into wheelchairs. But what we see is, as time has gone by, because we do have so many wonderful options here in Pinellas County, is that you really are sick and need a lot of care by the time you are considering nursing home level of care. A lot of our assisted livings have what's called Extended Congregate Care License, or you'll hear them say ECC license, and that actually allows them to maintain their residents there until they pass away, even if they truly meet that nursing home level of care. So in saying that, we haven't had a new nursing home built in Pinellas County since I've moved here. You have to have a certificate of need, and there have never been any new ones allotted since I moved to Pinellas County in 1989. So that's a while. So we have plenty of facilities available. And the other great thing is that we have awesome facilities available. So while, when I meet with clients in my office, we'll often have the conversation, if I die. Well, it's not an if. It definitely is a when. But the nursing home conversation is really a if. There's a very low percentage that any of us are going to end up in a nursing home for any length of time. But statistically, somebody's going to. But that statistic is well below 30%. So 70% of us are never really going to experience living in a nursing home long term. And I'm saying that very carefully because nursing home care and rehab care, it's very different. It's different levels of care that's in the same building. And that's sometimes very hard for folks to understand when they're in the hospital. Perhaps they've had a fall, they've broken a hip, and they're like, you really need to go to rehab before you go home. And when they find out that the rehab is inside a nursing home building, it's scary because you know what? Once you're in, you're thinking, I'm never getting out of here. And that's just not true. We have a lot of wonderful rehabs within nursing homes, but if it is the situation where you do not get well enough to be able to return home, or whatever home is, whether it be at home or assisted living, most of our rehabs also have what they call long-term care wings. So I like to use these words carefully. So we have rehabs that are within nursing homes, and we have long-term care wings, which means more of a custodial type care, where you're going to continue to live there and need the type of nursing care and assistance that a nursing home provides. We also often hear the word institutional care, and that comes from Medicaid. When we're talking to clients about Medicaid, there's a program called the Institutional Care Program that helps pay for nursing home care. So that's where that word comes in. I will tell you that when my grandmother needed care, we lived in a very rural area in the mountains of Maryland, and we had one facility that was an institution that covered addiction, psychiatric issues, and rehab and nursing home care. There was one choice, and it was all in one building. I can tell you, you didn't want to mention the name of that building to anybody because they were petrified they were going to end up there. Here in Pinellas County, we don't have that problem. We have lots of great facilities with incredible services available. We're really blessed because we do have so many choices here. And I think you've heard so many statistics today of how we are like overly populated with everybody with issues and with elder issues and elder needs. And so our community has done a good job responding to that. I know we talk a lot about what we don't have, but we really do have a lot of great services and different entities available to provide the services that we need here. So when do you typically need nursing home care? I can tell you that most people are not mapping it out and planning it. It is usually a very quick process. You go into the hospital for some purpose, you get admitted, you get your 3-night overnight stay, and they say, you know what, we're going to recommend that we transition you out of the hospital over into a rehab center. Which one do you want to go to? Oh, wait, let me give you a list. And that, they're waiting for you, and they say, it could be as soon as tomorrow that the doctor says you're discharged. And that's a very short period of time to try to make a decision. The other entry or indicator that you might be needing nursing home care is when it just becomes unsafe at home. The main thing I see in my practice when it becomes unsafe at home is because the caregiver is not in the home, because something has happened to the caregiver. And lots of times that precipitates a move for the person that's been needing care to need nursing home care. The other thing that we see that often precipitates nursing home care is finances. the way that Medicaid works here in the state of Florida, if you need nursing home care, it is an entitlement program. And what that means to you and me is that if we meet the eligibility requirements for Medicaid and we need nursing home care and meet that level of care, the state of Florida doesn't have a choice. They have to pay for our nursing home stay. Unlike assisted living and home care, which fall under waiver programs, the state of Florida gets to say, you know what, this is how much money we're putting into the budget this year for assisted living care and for home care, and when this money is allocated, then everybody goes on a waiting list. So what we know is we have a waiting list over 30,000 deep. So over the state. So sometimes folks run out of money in assisted living, or sometimes they run out of money at home and can no longer afford to have anybody come in, and then that precipitates the move into a nursing home setting. The nursing home regulations, I'm not even going to talk about them today, but there are so many awesome websites that you can go through that will list them. They make them easy to understand. The Center for Medicare and Medicaid is who does all of the regulations for nursing homes on the federal level, and they are governed by federal law as well as state law. And here in the state of Florida, it's the Agency for Healthcare Association. Both of them have awesome websites with incredible tools. I would take the time to look at them just so you have a basic understanding. I think it was Tracy mentioned during her presentation, knowledge is power. It really is. And it also makes things a little less scary. There's nothing worse than being thrown into this situation and not have a clue. So while it's not always the most exciting thing to read, there are a lot of great tools available. And on the Medicare website in particular, there's a great list on all the things you should ask when you're touring a nursing home. So I didn't print them for you, but they're all online, and all you have to do is put down the, right in your keyboard, all you have to do is Google nursing home checklist, and there's probably 60 pages of checklists that come up. So there's a lot of good ones out there. What we did bring, and I'll introduce Kathy Johansson in the back and Kim Marie Bach. Kathy's with Easy Living and Kim Marie's with our law firm, Special Needs Lawyers. So Kathy has a handout that focuses on what you need to be aware of before you're discharged from the hospital, and it gives you a list of what you need to be asking and taking with you as you look for a potential facility. Kim Marie has a handout that's, we just call it our Medicaid planning handout, and it goes into complete detail about how the Medicaid program works and what the eligibility requirements are. Now that one's a little lengthy. I think it's like 6 pages. It is the best reading if you can't sleep because it will put you out. But if you read it in small doses, it really is awesome information, and it truly is a lot of what we cover when you meet with us on a consultation. So it's a great way to become familiar with it before you do have to meet with an attorney if you need to talk to somebody about the financial planning part of it. So when you're looking at nursing home care, there are a couple requirements. One is the nursing home has to decide if they're going to accept you as a patient. They do not have to take you. It's not required. They can decide if they offer the level of care that you need. There's also a form called the PASSER, and I think it's called the Patient Assessment. I don't know, I can't remember the entire acronym, but what it is, it's a screening tool for mental health issues to make sure you're not inappropriately placed. If you do plan on being on Medicaid, there has to be a 3008 form completed that states why you need nursing home care and that you truly do meet the nursing home level of care. And then there's always a contract to sign. The main thing is with a contract is, one, you want to be comfortable with the terms of the contract, but the second thing is that if the resident moving in cannot sign the contract and you're signing on their behalf, make sure you're signing as power of attorney and always put POA, your name, POA, so you're not obligating yourself personally or individually at all. You're only obligating the person that's relocating into the nursing home. So what nursing home is best for you? One of the primary things you have to look at is your diagnosis. Does the facility that you're looking at provide the level of care that you need? So if you need dialysis, we have facilities here in Pinellas County that provide dialysis in the facility. That's a whole lot nicer than having to go someplace on a regular basis to get your dialysis. So those would be things that you would want to look at. The biggest one that I always say is location, location, location. So if you've ever looked for schools, guess what? Is that what the realtor always says? And it's kind of the same if you're looking for nursing home care. You do not want to move where no one can see you. And what I mean by that is if your children are all working, or they live in St. Pete and you live in Clearwater and there's really not a lot of people to visit you in Clearwater, you may want to utilize a nursing home in St. Pete just because if you're close, they're going to get to see you a little bit more because they might still be working, they might have grandkids they're taking care of. You want to make it as easy as possible for you to be able to keep your community, whether it be family, your church, your friends, whomever. The main limitation that people are shocked to find out is when they are admitted to the hospital, they find out they need to go to a rehab facility, and they find out they only have 5 choices. And the reason why they only have 5 choices is because the Medicare Advantage plan they chose only contracts with certain facilities. So if you do utilize Medicare Advantage plan, which is the Part C plan, make sure you review their website and see exactly who they have contracts with so you know what your rehab choices would be if and when you would require that. So when you go to visit a nursing home, I'm not going to go through absolutely everything you need to look at because time doesn't allow that, but please schedule a tour. A lot of people like the idea of the surprise visit. There's nothing worse than a surprise visit and you find out that the person who's in charge of taking you on a tour is already with somebody, and you really just can't go in and expect to wander around because we do have privacy. And don't forget, people live there, it's their home, and so they just don't want people walking down the halls and peeking into rooms. It would be very intrusive. So take the time to schedule the appointment. The second thing I always tell people, everybody giggles about this, but it's a very serious thing, is everybody always says, make sure it doesn't smell. Well, that's all well and good, but almost everybody has a BM in the morning. So if your tour is in the morning, it's going to smell. Try not to hold that against the facility because it's a timing issue. So it really is a random event, but in the morning it seems to be the worst. But you want to think about that when you're scheduling the tour. Ask lots of questions. There are absolutely no stupid questions. And be very observant while you're walking around. You're going to want to be paying attention to everything. Does anybody look happy? Does anybody look sad? Do people look like they're being taken care of? Do the CNAs that are working there, do they look and act like they're loving with the clients? Are they appropriate with them, with how they speak to them? What's everybody's tone? How are folks with you? And how is the rapport between the people that are working there? Do you smoke? I know this is a silly one, but if you smoke, you really want to ask, are you going to be able to smoke, and how often can you? So think of all of your habits. Like my big one is I have to have a Diet Coke within 5 minutes of waking up. Now, nothing bad happens if I don't get it other than I could get really grouchy. But that's important to me because I want to have that drink. Are they going to be able to provide that to me? Ask the administrator. And if the administrator doesn't have time to meet with you, possibly the director of nursing is fine, but somebody should be willing to meet with you and ask your really important questions. And one of them needs to be, what is your turnover like? Now, I will tell you at the CNA level, it's probably going to be very high, the certified nursing assistant, the one that's actually doing the hands-on care. But at the administrative level, you want to find out how much, if the administrator's been there for a while, because if there's a good administrator, you're going to have a good facility. facility because they're a good leader, they have people that want to work with them, and they're able to manage all of the crises that can happen and seem to happen on a regular basis when you're doing any type of patient care. When you look at the activities, do they look like fun? Are they ones that you think your parent would want to do, your loved one would want to do, or even that you would want to do? Everybody laughs about this one, but you really do want to know how the food is. Do they have a vending machine? What kind of snacks do they have? Are they ones that you would actually want to eat? If you're a healthy snacker, are they going to meet that need? It's very frustrating when we have clients with easy living that are in an assisted living facility and they say that they would like healthy snacks and they continue to get offered cookies and juice instead of like a protein bar and perhaps just even a bottle of water. So you want to ask about those things so that you know, and it also gives you a chance to see how they walk around that question. Because lots of times they may not have it readily available, but they may say they'll work with you to make sure you have something that's easy for you to eat. Sometimes it's very hard to use utensils, so is it possible to have all of your food be finger food? They say yes, but do they make it on a practical purpose? There's nothing worse than having something, a finger food that you have to open up, but yet your fingers aren't able to tear the packages open. That food will sit there, and the person will never get to eat it. If you're really craving something, just because you move into a nursing home doesn't mean you're still not going to want pizza. Will they help you order it? Can you have Domino's? So the other big question I always tell my clients to ask is there going to be any construction soon? Because you may or may not want to live someplace that's going to be rehabbed right when you move in. So again, that's a comfort thing. What was the last party they had, and did anybody attend? Because remember, you're moving in someplace to live. You want to make sure they're having some activities that you're going to enjoy. If you still read the newspaper, do they have one readily available, and how many, and where is it? And then do they have Wi-Fi available? And if they have Wi-Fi available, do they have a portal, an online portal on their system for your family to be able to see all about your care? And hopefully they do, and hopefully they provide you pictures. There's really, with technology being as affordable as it is now, there is really no reason why you can't receive a photo of your loved one really even on a daily basis, just so you could see how they're doing, how they look, and then you know that they're getting some attention. But the other big thing you get to see is their hair combed, are their teeth clean, is their face clean? There's a lot of things you can see from the photo that tells you a lot about your loved one and gives you a lot of comfort. Those are not unrealistic expectations for you to think about and to even think about asking the facility to do for you. The other thing is when does the facility to call you? And what do they send to you? Do they let you know what the activities are so that you can come and join in on the ones that you and your loved one may be able to do together? How much communication do they have with you, or is it only when there's a problem? I can promise you that would be a deal killer for me. I wouldn't want to only hear about the problems. You would have to tell me something good. It's kind of like when my kids were little, and they only called you when your kid like hit another kid or bit them or something like that. It's like, could you please just tell me one good thing they did? It doesn't change. We always want that type of feedback from whoever we're working with. Other questions that I just threw in there, but of course there are more questions than I could ever think of, but I do think, what kind of diapers do you use? I want to touch them. I want to see how that's going to feel on my skin, so I know what they're using on my loved one's skin. What's your most comfortable chair here? And how many of those do you have? Am I ever going to get a chance to sit in it? What will you do to try to make me happy? I still am alive. I'd like to have some happiness while I'm there. What is the sense of your residents that are already there? Do a lot of them, are they able to communicate? And is your loved one able to communicate? Is there going to be a support system there? In Florida, we have a great system called the Healthcare Finder, And these two websites, floridahealthfinder.gov and the medicare.gov website, both have incredible tools for you to be able to compare nursing facilities as well as see everything about them, every survey result, every complaint, all their stars. Some are 5, some are 3, some are 0. Everything you need to know about the facility you're interested in is on these websites. So depending on what you're looking for, a lot of it's going to be timing. But I can tell you personally, when I had to make these decisions with my parents, and I had to choose what I thought was the best facility in Pinellas County for them, I had to choose two because, you know, my parents had one kind of life. I love my parents dearly, and they grew up on a very small piece of land with a farm, like a garden, not really a farm, no animals, just a garden and stuff. And my dad worked at a Mack truck factory, and I don't even know if Mack trucks are still out there anymore. My in-laws, on the other hand, my father-in-law is a retired physician, and his wife worked in his office a lot. Two totally different types of lifestyles. While they got together at family things because they had to, I can tell you the conversations were sometimes a little tough because they lived two different kinds of lives, had different sets of interests. I would never have chosen the same facility for both of them. So I live in Largo. So if I would have had to have moved to my parents, and I toured them there, I would have taken them to Oak Manor in Largo. It's a 16-acre property, and they could see lots of green stuff from no matter what room they were going to be in. But it was also similarly situated people. The administrator was always available to speak to, and their turnover rate is very impressive. It's so low. They've had so many long-term employees. So I just felt like that was the right fit for my mom and dad. They both died before they needed long-term care, so we never ended up going there, but that's where I would have selected. On the other hand, I'm begging my in-laws to move here every week. My mother-in-law just had to have a mastectomy. I want to be there for her. She's in Ohio, but I can't get her to move. I want them to move to the Palms of Largo because her husband is a higher level of care and would need Sable Palms, and she could live in an apartment on the same property, and my husband's office is within walking distance. So you know what my husband would do at lunch? He'd go see his parents. He works from maybe 5 a.m. till 7 p.m. every day, so he could catch them at lunch, and he could swing by there before he came home at night, probably even have dinner with them. And we keep on reassuring them he would truly do all of this because it's so close to his office. But you can see how I pull in all the different pieces. It's like these would be the best facilities for our families for those reasons. And so while for you all would have to do some of this thought process of what does your loved one need, what do they want, where does their personality fit, and then do the research, are they good facilities? And I can tell you the websites I gave you will tell you all the information you need about those facilities, and then your tour and the sensation you get is going to tell you the rest. The last slide is kind of a silly slide, but somebody needs to do t-shirts with this on it because you guys are all caregivers, and seriously, you're the one that's going to be choosing the nursing home. And I thought, you know, I probably should think about that with my kids when I get really irritated with them because I'll be in the same spot. Thank you.
Isn't she great? Okay, thank you, Linda.